Test, test, test. Hello. And I actually have music this time, I think. Alright, so anyway. I don't know how loud it is, so I'm just gonna turn it down a bit. But, I want to talk about my draft specifically today. Um, and maybe I'll do a full draft breakdown later. I just don't have a ton of time, because I'm working a lot this week. And I think by the time I would be able to make a full draft breakdown, that's like to a quality that I'd be happy with. Um, we'd probably already be playing already, so then it's not really worth it. Um, but yeah, so I want to talk about my team, and to be honest, it's not even close to what I went into the draft looking for. Um, my initial plan was to get my fantasy core first, and I really wanted Garchomp because I had Garchomp last season, and it was like one of really three Pokemon that I wasn't horrifically disappointed with. But it got taken like fourth pick, which is insane to me. Um, but I don't know. I'm still pretty happy with what I got. It's very different, and it plays. I think on the surface, it looks really not that imposing, but there's a lot of layers to this team that I'm not going to talk about all of them. I think I'll give you guys the first like two layers, but I would argue it goes like at least three or four deep. But yeah, so this is the full team, and this is the order that I drafted them in. So I'll do a little breakdown of each of them. I don't want to give away too much of my tricks, but there's a lot of sort of like secret synergy, I think, and even so, there's a lot of just direct synergy, right? Um, but yeah, let's start with Incineroar. You guys know what Incineroar does. It, fake outs, it parting shots, it U-turns if it's AV, Flare Blitz knockoff, just really good utility. I actually was not even looking at Incineroar initially, but I had a quick conversation with Jake about basically me panicking on the first round because I had three plans going in, and all three of the Pokemon that I was looking to draft around got taken before it was my turn, so I had to just sort of on the fly figure something out. Um, and I think Incin is probably the best Pokemon you can grab if you're panicked because you can't really go wrong. Um, it's such an easy Pokemon to build around, and it has so many like little tricks and such a deep move pool that I think I'll be able to do some pretty fun stuff with it. Um, it does start my draft off really slow. Normally, I like to try to get something a little bit faster as my first pick. Um, but Incineroar I don't think really cares about its speed stat very much. Um, because normally I think if you're running a really fast Incineroar, it's because you want to be clicking Fake Out before opposing Incineroar. But I'm the only person with Incineroar in the draft, so I don't really have to worry about that. Um, and then after I got Incineroar, I just decided like, okay, let me just get my Fire Water Grass core like out of the way. I Sinistcha was my first pick in terms of grass types. I think Instant Sinistcha is something that like not a lot of people have really explored, at least as far as I know. I don't think it's had any like crazy deep runs at regionals or anything, but it's probably my favorite defensive core of this entire game. I think that the synergy that they have of just like constantly being able to pivot in and out, and like Instant protects Sinistcha as it comes in and heals it with hospitality and all that stuff. You have Rage Powder to redirect all like the ground moves, the water moves, the fighting moves for Incineroar. It's just such a good like combination of types and abilities. Um, it also is nice that like Incin is a physical attacker and Sinistcha is a special attacker, and despite the fact that they're both like generally seen as more supportive, like they have really good offensive stats. I think Incin is what, 115? Yeah, Incin's 115, Sinistcha's 121. Those are really respectable stats, especially when you're clicking, Flare Blitz with Incin and like Magigacha as a spread move on Sinistcha. Like there's a lot that you can accomplish with those two if they're just sort of left alone. And they have like really good staying power. Sinistcha's bulk is amazing. It's sort of like even compounded with the Intimidate, right? That you're stacking like 106 defense plus the Intimidate. Then Ensign has really good like 90, 90, 95. It's just, they're just incredible defensive pieces. And I think I started the draft off really like, I started the draft off with no offense, but I was kind of fine because I knew like I had a couple Pokemon that were in the back of my mind that I wanted that had like really high offensive potential. So I think starting off like this defensive was okay. Um, I will say like one thing that people should maybe keep in mind if they're prepping for me is that I am not afraid to use Heat Proof on Sinistcha. In Season 1, when Gerd was the like captain and I was responsible for helping prep, there was a lot of weeks that we were like, oh, okay, so Sinistcha just like kind of sucks here because there's a really good fire type, and then we just remembered we can run Heat Proof instead, and it solves so many problems. Um, but yeah, I'm very glad to have Sinistcha again. It's one of my favorite Pokemon, and I think it's really good in draft. Having access, like having no access to Terra, is a little bit worse for it because its typing is kind of not amazing. I think um, there's a lot of times where like you really want to be able to eat hits from a dark type, and you can't do that unless I'm gonna run. I think it's Colberberry. It's either Colbur or I think Kasib. I don't remember Ghost and Dark, but it does a lot. It's also nice having a Trick Room setter that's immune to fake out like just naturally is really nice because then it means like I can theoretically get a guaranteed Trick Room if it's like I run Mental Herb and I can't get hit by fake out, and then I can just fake out whatever would potentially one shot me. So then the only thing that would really stop it is like if you hard call it and set up Trick Room on your own the same turn or imprison. And speaking of, Sinistcha has Imprison Trick Room, so if I don't want to play a Trick Room game that week, I can just imprison it, which is nice. Um, and then, like I was saying, the damage was pretty low from these two, even though it's still respectable, but it's not really like threatening, I would say. And I decided to just keep going with my pivot moves, and I grabbed Palafin. I I believe this is the first time Palafin has been drafted on a non-rain team. I don't remember what team it was on in Season 1, if it was even on a team in Season 1. But I know last season it was on, I believe, Hawk's team that was like a hard rain team. Um, but I think that Palafin in this setting is a lot better. I don't think it's as like intimidating to prep for, but once you start looking at the wave crash calcs, like it just hits really hard. Like that's kind of all it needs to do. I saw a couple people saying like they weren't super impressed with it because it doesn't have like that good of coverage, but I disagree. I think it has really all that it needs. Like it has close combat. It has I know it has some steel coverage. I think it has like Iron Head, and then whatever that new one is that like is pretty shitty, but could be niche because it's a little bit stronger than Iron Head. It's the one that like does damage based on their HP total. I think it's like hard press or something. I don't remember. I'd have to look again. Um, but it has enough coverage. Um, and it's something that like I think I've used Palafin maybe once before, and I enjoyed it a little bit, but I didn't get to like delve super deep into it because when that when like Reg C was a thing and Palafin was like actually playable, I wasn't really like a balance player at the time. I was using fucking Oinkologne instead. But yeah, I'm excited. I think this Firewater Grass Core, I would argue is either the best or second best in the entire draft. I think Jake's is the only one that's like really comparable, and that's not really a surprise, right? We were the only two players that I can remember. Well, I guess I can double check that drafted our Firewater Grass like right away, right? Yes. Why did only my sprites load? Oh, there they go. Okay. Yeah, so we were the only two that drafted Firewater Grass right away, and I think that's pretty apparent, right? Because, like, this is an amazing Firewater Grass core. I think mine is also amazing. Um, but yeah, I guess we'll just have to see, like, it'll kind of depend on, like, how hard people can punish me activating Palafin. but I have tricks for it, so I'm not super nervous, but I guess we'll just find out. Next I grab Gardevoir. I think Gardevoir is like an amazing Pokemon in draft, and especially in this format when there's like very few fairy types. It has 3 abilities that are really usable. I already have a couple scenarios in my head where I actually probably will be using Synchronize, depending on who I play. Trace is good because I get to like learn an ability and take an ability. That's nice. And then Telepathy works well with like Mamoswine or like Discharge on Jolteon. There's a lot of things I can do with it. Um, I don't want to talk too much about it because I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve with Gardevoir, and I don't want to give them all away. So I'm actually just gonna move on. It's really strong. I guess that's another thing. It has really high special attack. Its special defense is also amazing, which pairs well with Incin, right? The physical defense is a little bit lacking, but it kind of gets made up with having Incineroar and having the best Intimidator in the format. Um, but yeah, that's all I'll say about Gardevoir. Hisui Gudra. I genuinely, I think Hisui Gudra is maybe the most undervalued pick in the entire draft because I think this should have been like 14 points. Um, there are some matchups that I think Hisui Gudra with a Shelter Boost just like wins on the spot. Um, and if that's not the case, then like I just need to get rid of like one or two things, and then Gudra just wins on the spot. And I have it like so well supported, right? I have Intimidate, Fake Out, Rage Powder, all this stuff. Like I think it's gonna be relatively straightforward for me to get an Iron Defense boost if that's what I'm looking for. Um, it's immune to crits, which is amazing. Last season I got crit a bunch of times and scammed a bunch of times before I dropped, so hopefully that won't happen again. Sap Sipper's not like as useful in this format where I can't like Terra, because before I could do Terra Water with Sap Sipper to only have the weakness to Electric, but I can't do that here, so like I probably will not be using Sap Sipper except against like Spore teams. But Shell Armor and Gooey are great abilities that I will definitely be using sort of interchangeably depending on the matchup. And it's great, right? So Gudra, these are really the stats that matter. Its attack stat is good enough, like especially compared to its special attack, that I can run Physical Gudra if I want. And this is another Pokemon where like it's slow, but its speed isn't a huge deal because it's just so bulky that like it doesn't really care. And its move pool's great too. I know it has Flamethrower. I haven't been able to look through everything yet, but I know it has Flamethrower for sure, and I know obviously it has Steel and Dragon coverage, which those are sometimes all you need. But yeah, I think Gudra was like super undervalued. For 10 is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, moving on, Jolteon. I just needed something fast. I think Jolteon's really good. I wanted Electabuzz initially because I don't like really only having Rage Powder for redirection, because a lot of things like people can just, whatever their most offensive piece into me is, if it like quote unquote loses to Sinistra, they can just give it Safety Goggles and then I can't do anything with it anymore. Excuse me. So if it's like, oh, it's an electric type that really wants to hit Palafin, but it just can't get through Sinistra, just give it Safety Goggles and then problem solved. So I was really hoping to get Electabuzz here, but literally the round that I said I was going for Electabuzz, the next pick was Electabuzz. So I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I'm still happy with Jolteon. In Season 1, Gerd and I had Kilowattrel, and I think we ran it Scarf more than any other item. And Jolteon can do the exact same thing, but I just put it with a Flame Orb and give it Quick Feet instead of Volt Absorb, and then I am one of the fastest Pokemon in the entire format. I guess this is free matchup tech, but I'm definitely going to be doing that if you have the Tailwind on your team, so look out for that. Its coverage is not the best. It has like Shadow Ball and Alluring Voice. Those are the only two things that come to mind. But I don't think it really needs to do more than, it's going to click Volt Switch, it's going to click T-Bolt, it's going to click Thunder Wave, it's going to click Electro Web. It's speed control, right? I have it on there for speed control. And it's pretty strong too. 110 is totally respectable. And it's another Pokemon where its special defense is better than its physical defense, which pairs well with Incineroar. It's not like an amazing pairing because they're both weak to ground and all that stuff. It's kind of the same for Gudra, but it's not as big of a deal because its defenses are so good. Um, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like it does exactly what I needed to, and it was pretty cheap, so I'm happy with it. Next is Flamigo. So Flamigo was not even remotely in my plans. Um, and I took it for two reasons. The first reason was I did not want to deal with Mux Smeargle Flamigo. Um, I was actually expecting Curry to take Flamigo like the round that I chose to like maybe get it. So I kind of had written it off already, but he didn't. So then I was like, oh, perfect. I can just grab Flamigo like on the turnaround because I don't think anybody between my two picks of Jolteon and Flamigo had a reason to take Flamigo, and I figured it was better to risk Flamigo than, or yeah, it was better to risk Flamigo than Jolteon because I needed Jolteon more. Um, but like Flamigo is just a good flying type, and it happens to be a fighting type, which is why I have it. I mainly wanted it for flying typing. Scrappy's awesome. Co-Star is something that like it doesn't immediately look like I can really use it, but if I just get a bunch of defense boosts with Gudra or like have some setup with Palafin because it has bulk up and stuff, I can just send in Co-Star Flamigo and then I have two Pokemon that are set up for freeze. That's pretty good. Tangled Feet sucks. I will not use it. It'll mainly be Scrappy, but I do have some application for Co-Star. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's just a good mon. It also has Wide Guard, which is nice. I think this is actually the first draft that I have Wide Guard because we had Swampert in Season 1 and it was not a real Pokemon. It sucked. Um, but yeah, I have an actual Wide Guard user this time. And it's pretty well protected, right? It's weak to Electric, which is covered by Sinistcha and Jolteon and Mamoswine, which we'll talk about next. Um, I'm excited for it. It's not one of the main Pokemon that I was like looking for in the draft, but it's kind of the theme of my team is like it does the job and it does it well. 115 attack, super respectable, same as Incin. 90 speed, good enough. It can be Choice Scarfed if I need it to be faster. It's also a Tailwind setter, which is nice. Yeah, that's really it. That's all I need it for. It's gonna click its buttons, and it'll probably get knocked out a lot because I'm not gonna value it super high. Mamoswine next. So Mamoswine was my backup ground type for if I didn't get Garchomp. Um, my initial plan was like, or yeah, I guess I can say this. My initial plan for the draft was I wanted Garchomp, Corviknight, Gardevoir, and Magmar as my first four, and I thought that was like kind of realistic. I think the only one that would maybe not get picked was, or the only one that had a chance of getting picked before was Magmar. But yeah, not getting Garchomp meant I just had to like totally abandon it. Um, and then I greeted the shit out of Mamoswine. I probably should have got Mamoswine before like Jolteon. Um, but I like really greeted Mamoswine and it paid off in the end. But if I did not get Mamoswine, I think I was kind of fucked. Cause then what other ground types are there, right? Like I don't even know. Like Flygon. I'm not picking Flygon. Um, yeah, I think Mamoswine is kind of essential for this team. It's really the only Pokemon I have that's like, excuse me, the purpose of it is to do damage. And I have so many things that pair next to Earthquake, right? I have Telepathy Gardevoir, I have Flamigo, I have Wheezing, which we'll talk about in a second. I can also just kind of click it next to Sinistcha, and I don't think it's a huge deal. Low kicks, I can sort of do the same thing. Also, I can just protect next to it, but like everybody can do that. Um, but yeah, I really wanted a ground type because there are so few ground types in this format that like if you don't have a ground type, I think you're kind of missing out. Um, which is why I wanted Garchomp so bad, but I didn't get it. But I think Mamoswine is great. It's just a strong physical ground type. That's all I wanted. The ice coverage is nice too because like one of the types that I think I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble with is grass because it's immune to the Rage Powder redirection and Palafin is sort of my main like offense. And Mamoswine is still weak to grass, right? but the fact that it can like sort of cover for itself with Ice Stab is nice. Um, so I should get some pretty good utility out of it. Next is Wheezing. So I think a lot of people were maybe a little surprised by this pick, because they sort of narrow in on Neutralizing Gas being like its only ability. I wanted Wheezing for Levitate. Um, I think that having a poison type that can choose to be weak to ground or not is insanely good. Um, and there honestly might be some weeks that I don't want Levitate because I just like don't need it, and I don't want Neutralizing Gas because I don't want to turn off my abilities, and I just throw Stench on there for some stupid reason. Um, I don't know what scenario that would be the case, but I could maybe like find one in the matchups or something. Um, but also, like, there's a little combination of Zero to Hero is not deactivated by Neutralizing Gas, so I can just lead Wheezing Palafin, and it's pretty safe for me to just switch out and start, like, disrupting with Wheezing. Um, Also, like, I can just, like, Intimidate with Ability Shield is really good if, I don't know, I'm playing against, like, King Gambit or Dragonite or something. I can just, like, intimidate them through Inner Focus or Defiant, which is great. Um, and a lot of my Pokemon aren't reliant on their abilities, right? Like, Sinistra's only activating when it's hitting the field for the first time if I'm running Hospitality. Zero to Hero, I already mentioned. Gardevoir, none of these abilities are mandatory, right? I don't think Weezing has any moves that I'm going to be clicking where I need Telepathy. And Trace is a on-turn, like, on-switch in activation. None of these moves are essential to Gardevoir's functionality. Quick Feet would be required. Like, I wouldn't want Quick Feet Jolteon next to Weezing, but Volt Absorb I don't think is a huge deal. Scrappy is important. Co-Star's not. Tangled Feet we already talked about. Mamoswine I think is like the one that gets hit the worst, but it's still manageable, right? Like, Oblivious's purpose is that it's deactivating Intimidate, like you become immune to Intimidate, but Neutralizing Gases up, Intimidate's not triggering. And then Low Kicks we'll talk about. I think I'm losing already if Weezing and Low Kicks are the two Pokemon that are on my field. And Neutralizing Gases up. I think I'm just losing. But yeah, that's fine. And then last pick, Low Kicks. It's just a Tinted Lead's bug type. That's fucking awesome. First impression is so scary. I think the thing that my draft did the best out of all the drafts is the on-paper pressure of my draft, I think, is amazing. Because you have to respect so many things. Like, you have to respect Palafin, you have to respect Goodra, you have to respect Mamoswine, you have to respect Neutralizing Gas Weezing, you have to respect Low Kick's first impression, right? Unless you're, if you have Farigiraf on your team, I don't think you have to worry about first impression because you have a Farigiraf, but you still have to worry about Low Kicks as a Pokemon because both of its stabs are hitting you for weakness. And that's the case for all the priority blockers, I'm pretty sure, because it's what? Serena's getting hit by Bug, and then everything else is a Psychic type. And they're getting hit by both. So, I think Low Kicks is amazing. For 4 points is really, really nice. And this is sort of the layer 2 of my team, I guess. Like, a little bit of a look into the layer 2 is I have 3 Feint users. So, Low Kicks is, like, I think a lot more intimidating than people maybe will give it credit for. There are some scenarios where I think I could just lead Low Kicks and just, like, Feint first impression and just take a knockout right away. And if I'm doing that, like, with how defensive my team can play, if I just, like, take a knockout right away, I think at that point, like, I have to mess up really bad to lose. And it's not even something that can really be resisted because Tinted Lens is so ridiculous. Yeah, Low Kick, so from my initial draft plan, the only 2 Pokemon that I actually got that I was planning on getting was Gardevoir and Low Kicks. Those are the only 2. And Mamoswine was a backup. But I'm really excited to have Low Kicks. I'm continuing my trend of finding a cheap Gen 9 Pokemon as my last pick, because we did Mabostiff in Season 1, Darkspun in Season 2, and then now Low Kicks in Season 3. It's a nice speed tier too. Being above 90 is pretty good. I think that's another, like, slight weakness of my team is that it's the speed tiers are kind of weird. I have the nice like ladder of 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, but having nothing slower than 60 is a little bit tricky. Um, I have two imprisoned Trick Room users, so it's not like a huge concern of mine. Um, and I don't think there are any like hard Trick Room teams in the. And this one's kind of. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll just figure it out when I play against people. Um, but yeah, overall, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. It's again nothing like what I went in looking for, but I think I can make it work. Um, overall, in terms of like the strength of it into the rest of the format, I think I'm like a solid A, borderline S. Um, I will double down on I have the second best or best Fire Water Grass core in the format. I think I have one of the better Fairy Dragon Steel cores in the format, and they pair it with each other really nice. I think Jolteon is my fastest is totally fine. There are Pokemon that are faster than it, but not a ton. Um, and even if there are Pokemon that are faster than it, I can just protect for one turn and then get my free Choice Scarf for a little bit of chip every turn, and seems pretty worth it to me. And I think my later picks are all like really nice budget mons. Um, I think I did a really good job of finding the value in this draft, and I did not fall for the trap that I fell for last time, which was starting with value. 19 points for Incineroar when I first looked at it, I wasn't like super thrilled about it, but then I sort of remembered that it's an Incineroar, like of course it's worth 19 points. Sinistcha for 16 I think is kind of a steal. I would have paid more for Sinistcha, and then Palafin for 18 is a little bit pricey, but for what my team is looking to do, I think Palafin was like the perfect choice as a water type, so I don't mind paying maybe a little bit over what I would want to. And then the rest of my picks are all like I think just really nice budget. I don't have anything more than 12, but Gardevoir I would pay more than 12. Gudra I already said I would have paid up to 14 for Gudra. Jolteon for 7 I think is like pretty fair. Flamigo absolutely should have been more than 7. Mamoswine in this format probably should have been more than 12 because again there's so few ground types. Weezing for 10, I think Weezing's always been 10. And then low kicks for 4 I looked at as a steal. I was looking for low kicks in the 7 point bracket initially. Um, so I think it's a 115 point draft, but it's like to me it's more like a 130 point draft because of how many like kind of scams I pulled in terms of these things costing less than they maybe should have. And I'm very happy with that. I just don't want to get ahead of myself, and the team can look good on paper, but if it doesn't play, then what's the point? Um, I guess that's what we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, so thank you all if you watched the whole thing. I look forward to playing you if you're in the Miraidon division. And if you're in the Crydon division, maybe after the season if you want to play, let me know. And yeah, thank you.